Hello, my friends. How are you guys? Are you guys excited about Thanksgiving? I am. I am looking forward to gaining 10 pounds, and I'm actually looking forward to putting up the Christmas decorations now, because this is the proper time to do it, not the day after Halloween. Sorry, it's a pet peeve of mine. That's just tradition, and I don't get why Christmas decorations are going up the day after Halloween. But I digress, and welcome to another episode of A Taboo Life, where everyone has a story to tell. I'm your host, Drew Franks, or Frank for short, and I want to thank you guys again for listening. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, and also come check out the website, ataboolife.com, where you can read some interesting articles, short stories, poems, and prose, because I am that sappy, and some other interesting content too. So don't forget to check out ataboolife.com. And also, if you guys have any suggestions or know people who will be great to interview, if they're a day's drive from Jacksonville, Florida, I'll go to them, because I only do these episodes face to face. Anyway, any suggestions or any fan mail, you can email me at ataboolife@gmail.com, or you could follow me on Instagram and Twitter. Same name, A Taboo Life. Today's guest is Mr. Garrick Clig. I was fortunate enough to come record this episode at his house. He has two beautiful, great husky puppies. They were so adorable. I'm a dog person, so I love them. Him and his girlfriend gave me a couple of drinks. We had a good time talking, but this episode is a very emotional episode, and it's very deep. We talk about his collegiate or university career as a football player, his trials and struggles with it, his struggles with CTE and suicide, and he also admitted to something that was very tragic that happened to him when he was a kid, and it was very, I got taken back by it. It was not my first time somebody ever made to me about sexual abuse when they were children, but it was he's a great guy and a really good man despite the circumstances. He may suffer from brain damage, and he suffers from a tragic circumstance when he was a kid, but somehow he's able to become a good man. He chose to become something better for himself instead of letting the situations and the tragedy change him and define him. I thought this was a very deep episode, and it left me thinking about a lot of things after I left. I'm going to stop talking now. I'm going to let you guys listen to it. The last 10 minutes is when it gets a little bit more emotional, but it's a great episode when it comes to not only masculinity, but also how to overcome tragedy. Here's Mr. Garrick Clig's interview, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And we're live. Alright guys, I want you to give this very special welcome to, go ahead and introduce yourself.
Hi guys, my name is Garrick Clig. I'm a personal trainer here in Atlantic Beach, Florida.
And his lovely girlfriend's here. And go ahead and introduce yourself too, since you're being part of the audience.
My name is Jody, and I am also here in Atlantic Beach with you guys.
Yeah, that didn't come all the way through, but her name is Jody, and she lives with her boyfriend here. Garrick is on the show because we met at a garage sale I had at my house, and he told me a really interesting story about himself. And I thought it would be great to hear, for you guys to hear his story, because he has a really interesting one, and it's relevant when it comes to today, especially with masculinity and also sports too. So this is going to be a great podcast episode for anyone that loves sports, especially football, weightlifting, and also too, what a lot of us men are going through in today's world. So let's get started. So tell us about your football career first.
That's a very interesting perspective because not exactly sure which story you were referring to when we first met there, but I have a lot of stories. At that level, you had to be. I mean, the men there were amazing. I mean, they were just gifted human beings, and I had to outwork my competition to even be competitive. I was undersized. I was slower. I had to kind of get by having stronger strength.
Yeah, you say you're
more explosive, those type of things.
We'll put something in perspective for people not seeing this. And I'll take a picture now since this will be on Instagram. He's not a small guy. So when he's saying undersized, you gotta imagine how bigger the other guys are. He's actually a pretty big guy.
Yeah, I think numbers wise, I played somewhere around 280 to 290. I set some strength records when I was there. I think like the squat record and can't remember what else, but I was strong. And I viewed myself as the Rudy type player. If you haven't seen that movie, or ever heard that story, that's how I was able to compete, as I had to outwork my competition. And that's the only reason I was able to play. Unfortunately, my body fell apart. Mostly my mind. And I was pretty beat up. Like I said, I think I told you, I had about 12 concussions when I was there. Maybe 6 to 8 of them were documented. 3 I had in 3 days. It was my freshman year in camp. Didn't know what was going on. The coach I played for at the time liked to run plays over and over and over again. And, so if you did well on either side, it didn't matter. Like, the guys were just gonna collide. I mean, we collided. And, I remember there was one guy that I just kept pulling. I played guard and center and both sides to try and be competitive. But again, I was undersized and short little T-Rex on. Great for bench pressing, which is nice, to look good, have a nice chest and all that stuff.
And again, to the audience, he's not a small guy. He say that he's small, he's not a small guy.
And that's what, and you talk about, the perspective of who you are as a human being, especially as a man. Like, and then again, if you would have met me at that age, you would ask me, who are you? Like, who is your identity?
Sorry.
Who's your identity? I would have told you I was an offensive lineman. I was a University of Maryland football player. I was, any of those perspectives that was just as a physical being, because that's all I thought I had value for.
Yeah, you, because when you told me about that when we first met, I had to go through this, I went through the same thing and still am, by identity, especially when you're a man and, do something that's, typically masculine or violent. Like, you did football and I, was a police officer, and I identified myself for a long time, not as Frank, but as Officer Frank. And once you're gone from that, it's kind of like hard to actually figure out who you are.
It's very addicting, too. You know, for me, I enjoyed it. Like, I enjoyed the competition. I enjoyed the battle. I enjoyed dominating another man. Like, just to be able to as an offensive lineman, I didn't do much talking, you know, at least from the mouth. Like, we were kind of trained not to, you know, at least from that position. You know, you didn't say much. You just acted, which I played that role. And even from a young age, that's why I fell into that role pretty naturally for me. I always had this sense of being a protector, like that, whatever that identity came from, I'm not sure, but, or ideological stuff. It is what it is. I'm not sure where it came from, but it was natural for me. And so I fell into that role, you know, just shut up and obey orders, do what you're told. You know, you covered me shutting up there for a second. The reason I shut up was because I was crying. You know, thinking back about those times and the things that happened in that time frame since then, and who I am now as a person, and how I identify myself. It's been a long road. You know, it hasn't been easy. Any step of it.
No, it's not. Like I said earlier, I think I told you last week too. It's tough to lose that role. You're working you're doing a certain role for years. You commit to that role even before you took that role. Mm-hmm. You took that mantle, and once you leave it, or sometimes it leaves you, it's kind of like a lot of negative symptoms happen. You get depressed, you get lost, question your worth.
Yeah, for me it was all just a big, like, the identity from football, and like I said, I even enjoyed the competition and battle, like, and I got like I just said earlier, I got my ass kicked more than I won, so don't misunderstand. Mm-hmm. You know, but you get used to even that pain, you start to enjoy it. That fucked up perspective. You know, win or lose, you enjoy it. You know, and then for me, it was, like I said, I didn't talk shit. You didn't say much, but if you can, you know, take another human being, put them on their ass, pick them up, help them up, and then say, I'll see you in a second. You know, like that was fun. You know, and they, you know, and then, you know, that's why we did the jujitsu work, and we did the hand work, you know, that's where we lifted the weights, and, you know, that part was fun. You know, and I missed that side of it too. You know, win or lose, you know, it didn't really matter. You didn't have to think, you know, you could just put everything you had to into it at that time frame and release whatever, you know, pain you were holding inside. And for me, that pain came from probably my childhood, you know, and that's what I'm saying, the identity of, that's why I kind of laugh and think of, you know, who I was 10, 15 years ago, or who I, at least the identity of myself, mm-hmm. the way I viewed myself, that at that time frame, the only value I thought I had was physical. And that's where I think we met, and maybe why you invited me to this interview. When I met you at your garage sale, was I got to that point where you are not able to be the most dominant, you know, and then what happens? who are you then?
Mm-hmm.
You know, if because there's always somebody behind you, you know, that's a little bit better, a little bit younger, that's a little bit quicker, a little bit stronger, a little bit faster.
A bigger fish.
Yeah, there's always, you know, and if not now, a couple years, you know, eventually it goes away, you know, and no matter how hard you try. And that's how I got by. The harder I tried, the better I got, and I enjoyed that. You know, and even if I didn't get anywhere, which also led down some bad roads too, but, it was all just a big fucked up mask that I put on, and I didn't realize it.
What happened, what was because you told me, what was the last straw that made you quit? Tell us what happened. Like, the last, game you did.
Well, I didn't, like I said, I got my ass kicked when I played there. I didn't play a whole lot.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me. I was a special teams specialist, let's put it that way.
Special teams.
I think I had maybe one total career start when I was at the University of Maryland. And I don't even know if that was a team that was on TV or not, you know, but yeah, I played a lot in practice. I know that much. And that's where I got, you know, that's where I got my ass kicked the most. I had 3 concussions when I was a freshman. And I didn't know what they were. Like I said, our coach liked to run plays over and over again. And for me, it was, I was playing guard, and I pulled and kicked out a defensive end, and I think I did fairly well. I don't know if I put him on his ass or not, but he was, you know, enough for the coach to rip him an asshole. You know, in front of everybody else, you talk about men and being masculinity. That's what they did, is that they got in your head and they fucked with you. And maybe they got the most out of you, but they also drove you to that tipping point. And never provided a way out. And when you're a kid at that point, you don't know any better. You know, if these men are 60, 70, 50 years old or whatever, maybe younger now, you trusted them. And like I said, I was bred naturally to be an offensive lineman. For us, you did what you were told. You didn't talk. You know, that was for the receivers and the quarterbacks and the running backs. You know, those guys. We were a unit. We were a team. You depended on the guy next to you.
Obviously, you miss those days.
I miss the camaraderie.
And this to let you guys know, since this is not recorded video wise, this audio. It's emotional talk we're having. It's very emotional. What he's going through, I've been through, and almost every man who has been in the military, played team sports, collegial or college level, any level actually, did a dangerous job, like working in mines, working on oil rigs. There is a camaraderie when you when you do something dangerous. You depend on your brothers right next to you, and it's hard to fill that void when it's gone. Talking from personal experience, when I was, the one thing I miss being a cop is not so much the action, the foot chases, that stuff, or how easy it was to get laid in uniform. That's the part I miss the most, is the camaraderie. I miss my friends on the watch. And that camaraderie doesn't have to be at police or military level. It comes from working as a team doing something dangerous or something risky. And that's kind of like the essence of humanity right there. Like that partnership you have with someone that's not related to you. You're not brother or sister by birth, but you're brother or sister by choice.
It's not something that comes natural in the community. At least these days. It's tough, it's especially afterwards when you walk away and you look back and you don't know what relationships you really missed out on. For me, it wasn't just you depending on the person next to you. You were also competing with that person. So it was kind of like a double-edged sword. It was, you love them and you trust them, but it's still you versus them.
Yeah, that's still
and it's that part, like I said, was fun. And it made that connection that you're talking about even deeper. For me, it was tough because I wasn't I put the pressure on myself to be more successful in. Again, it was what I thought I had the only value in life. I thought the only thing I had to offer anybody was my physical being. It was my identity at the time. And I didn't realize that I could be more than that. It was you're an offensive lineman, you're a protector, you do what you're told, you don't speak out. It's not about you, it's about the team, it's about the unit, it's about the betterment of all that. And the truth is that was kind of all horseshit. The coaches ultimately it wasn't for the betterment of anything but their own benefit.
Their stats,
well, let me put it this way. Nobody cares how many players the University of Alabama graduates. They're winning national championships. Nobody gives a shit. Or how many kids like me will never be heard of. Though I think of a kid that I heard a story of the year Ohio State won their national championship 3 or 4 years ago. There was a kid that believed committed suicide that year, maybe about 5 or 6 weeks before they won their championship. And I could be mistaken. Again, I've been hitting the head a whole lot. But from my memory of it, the kid was a 3rd or 4th string guy, kind of like me. Mm-hmm. The only value I think he thought he had to the world was his performance. Uh-huh. And when you're not able to perform as a man, it doesn't matter what. I think that's what you're talking about, that identity. Mm-hmm. If you don't live up to whatever standards you put on yourself, whatever they might be, you're going to end up with that loss of identity. And for me, I put this pressure on myself to make it to a level to provide for people that I cared for. And when you're not able to achieve that, you don't get there, you know, and you have that loss of identity. You don't feel your net worth is worth anything, you know, so it doesn't matter if you're dominating another man and putting on his ass. It doesn't matter if you're starting games or not. It doesn't matter if you achieve the money or you have enough women or you have enough, money or, you know, whatever it might be that you think is your value to this world. Knowledge. That was me for a little while.
Mm-hmm.
You know, those people you always meet that had to always be right. Fuck, that was me for a while too. You know,
I think that everyone goes through that.
Yeah, but you know, I guess as men, I feel like we go through that a little bit more. You know, and what you see, like you keep talking about, I'm not small. Well, all you see is this shit is just insecurity. You know, most of it is pain that was put in again from a young age that I used to provide passion and hunger to drive me towards a certain goal of being successful. And when you don't get there or you don't achieve what the world thinks of perception, or even fuck the world, yourself, what you view as success, you feel less than. And that was me for a long time. And I think of this kid, going back to the Ohio State story, I think of this kid and this, from again, my memory, the kid ended up killing himself, throwing himself in the dumpster, or maybe, was in the dumpster, then killed himself. And then wasn't heard of for maybe 3 or 4 days until, you know, somebody ended up finding him in there. And I think of that kid's family, and I don't remember one damn thing being said of that kid after they won that championship, or any of that, you know, nothing like dedicated even towards him, or nothing even, you know, because most of that shit is fake too, you know, when they do apologies in the sports world, or, you know, when they dedicate something to somebody, it sounds nice on the cover, but like, a lot of it's underlining. Again, nobody cares how many people these guys graduate. And again, I miss that camaraderie of having those relationships there. And that's one of the things that for me, I wish I would have did a little bit better on of keeping connection with. Mm-hmm. Because I was always so driven and so hungry to be better than I was really supposed to be. I got caught up in ultimately trying to achieve the goal of getting to the next level, the NFL, or what we called the league, to earn money for my family, to give back to the people that I cared for, you know, and for me, it was, and I'm still very much kind of like this. I'm not a half-assed person. I'm kind of, it's just easier. You go all in or nothing, you know, anything in between is tough. You know, tough's a nice word. It's really a bitch. You know, it's fucking hard. You know, there's nothing in between. You know, and again, I enjoyed that. And when you feel like you can't do that, or you feel like you can't apply that to any aspect of your life, it doesn't matter if it's financially, spiritually, relationships. You're gonna, in my opinion, you're gonna feel a less than fulfilling life. And I mean, who the fuck am I? You know, I don't know if what I think is fulfilling or not has any value to anybody. But if it does, that's my goal in this. Is to show my scars and the things that have happened to me. Like I said before we talked, to be as honest as I can be. Or at least what I believe is true. You know, everything is stories. You know, one of my favorite motivational speakers is Les Brown, and I think he talks about, I don't know if you ever heard him or not speak.
I know his name, but I never listened to him speak.
He's wonderful. If you ever hear him, I'd love to see him live. I haven't. but I'd love to. He talks about it comes down to two things: just life's about dreams and stories. So, I'm fairly simple, so I like that. So I'll tell you my stories today, and a lot of my stories will come off as, for me, have been deep scars. I've already started crying.
Yeah.
Multiple times here.
Well, the thing is, it's a brave and tough thing to talk about. It really is.
Yeah, the older I get, the less and less regret I'm ultimately trying to have.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest goal, is to really try to add value to other people and not have regrets. That those are things that I would like to kind of focus on as I get older. Some experiences I'd still like to have too, but ultimately, it's. I think that people can really change their life and make whatever side, again, spiritually, relationships, financial. I think that if body, you were talking about, trying to lose some weight earlier, all that stuff. If you believe you can get there, you can change a lot of it. And I have been able to do that. And unfortunately, I've been my biggest opponent. I've been the one that's standing in my way the most, which is hard to even say, Again, my identity, my perception of myself has been a thing that I realize as I get older is something that I have to constantly work on. And if I don't, I allow myself to, or maybe subconsciously I don't realize it. Maybe it's from the concussions. Maybe it's not. Maybe it's from genetics. Maybe it's not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe it's fucking from the shit that happened to me in my life. Maybe it's not. Who knows? But either way, it's just, it's time to tell my story and my scars. And if they added value to people, that's what it's there for.
Well, the whole idea behind this podcast is that people's stories are important, and I think they should be heard. That's one thing that I learned, not so much college, but going into the world.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because the forced learning, I'm dyslexic.
Mm-hmm.
And I've said it a couple times. My perception of myself for the longest time was only my body. This is the only value I thought I had to people. I didn't realize that I had a mind, that I had a heart, that I had a soul, that I had things that had more value than just my body, or, what weight I could move, or how many women I could have, or how many guys' ass I could kick. It didn't matter, And anybody that thinks that the bigger you are, the less and less people will come at you, that's a big misconception.
Uh-huh.
Maybe you've experienced that wearing a uniform. Maybe they come at you more, but in the size, you're not small either. Dude, you're a big guy. It's just fucked up mask that we put on. And for me, a lot of it was from fears and insecurities. And that's a lot of what my scars and my stories, dreams and stories from Mr. Les Brown there. A lot of my stories, and scars are going to come from that is that I had fears, and still, fuck, to realize that we're human.
Mm-hmm.
That as men, we're supposed to always have the answer. We're always supposed to be providing. We're always supposed to have. For me, like I said, it came natural. It was, you want to provide and protect and, take other people's pain because you feel like you can. And, it's not even our right to even think like that or to do that type of shit, Talk about learning, the forced learning through college, through grade school. I was terrible at it.
Mm-hmm.
And, he took some pictures and we talked about some of the conferences that me and this beautiful woman next to me go to and the mentors I've had. I've learned I can't even put a word or value to what I've learned from mentors, from the conferences, from the people that we've, talked to that, a lot of teachers like to sit around and talk from this book perspective, and they'll teach and they'll teach and they'll teach, and God bless them, I love it,
But there's no real world experience.
Yeah, and the mentors that I've had have added so much value to me and have kept me keeping the proper perspective. That's what college can provide. Excuse me. It didn't. Now, again, it provided experiences that I had that I thought are invaluable. Play at levels that I did and all that stuff. And teachers that I had, they were wonderful. Don't understand it. I misunderstand that side of it, but I didn't know for the longest time that the grade school and all that stuff wasn't really setting me up for life.
Mm-hmm.
That there was so much more to learn. And not only that I'm fucking smart. I was dyslexic. I was told I was dumb. Like, I was told that I couldn't do things. Like, reading and all that stuff was hard for me as a kid. Spelling, it was hard. Like,
a good portion of Fortune 500 CEOs are dyslexic. It's not a small percentage. I forgot the exact percentage, but it's a sizable chunk.
Yeah,
I
didn't know that.
Yeah,
like nobody fucking told me that though.
Yeah.
Like when I was going through school, like, and even my own father, who is one of the reasons why I do. I mean, he provided so much passion and he gave me a way out.
Mm-hmm.
Even if he couldn't do it himself, he always provided. I don't like the word motivation. And I think it was. I don't know if you ever read or heard any Mel Robbins.
Yeah, I saw her TED Talks.
Okay, yeah, she talks about motivation being horseshit. I think it's Latin for move. You have to movement or something. You have to move. You have to create action. And I think it's. I tend to agree with her. Actually, I love her. I love a lot of her stuff. I love her book too, 5-second Rule. If you guys read it,
I saw that at TED Talk.
Yep, I love it. It's a great book. I read it. I have it. Do it. Go after it. But she talks about motivation being kind of horseshit, and I agree with her. Because if you don't actually do something, it doesn't.
Yeah, you could have all the motivation posters, the memes, that kind of shit on your Facebook wall, but like it doesn't mean shit unless you back it up with something.
Yeah, and you don't actually get out and do it, and that's my father provided a lot of that stuff, a lot of motivation, a lot of, hey, this is a different perspective on people and successful people and all that stuff, but yet they were limited to their beliefs, and I'm grateful for it, but I was viewed as in his words, the village idiot.
Your father?
That's what he used to call me, and I'm grateful for that. Like, if that makes any sense, he used to say, "Do you end up asking people if they when they go into Walmart, do you was like a shopping cart, or or if you go through the drive-thru, would you like fries with that? He used to say that to me as a kid, and that provided me motivation to work harder on my body, because I thought that, okay, well, and not, I mean, it wasn't just him. That's not just, it was school. It was my mother too. I mean, it was the world around me. I believe the world that was handed to me.
Uh-huh.
Not realizing that I could create whatever I ultimately really wanted to, if I believed it, Again, you have to create action, but ultimately you have to get to that point where you can believe it first. You have to imagine it, and he provided that. He provided a lot of that. Imagine it, but also that negative, kind of like a boy named Sue from Johnny Cash, mentality there.
I love Johnny Cash.
Yeah, me too. I love Johnny Cash, man in black, but so that's like, so when you hear that, when people will say, hey, and if you knew how close I am with my father, I love him. He's always been there for me, and it gives me a big purpose of why and motivation. He's one of my family members. I do it for all of them, but he is one of them to provide a better life for. But to have that kind of boy named Sue mentality, I'm grateful for that. But at the same end, it also drove me to only have a perception of being good enough with my body. I believed it. I believed that I was dyslexic, so I couldn't read. So I didn't read. I believed that I wasn't good at the school, so I didn't do it. I beat around the bush in any way I could. I got by. I cheated. I conned girls into doing it, family members into doing it, writing papers. I mean, all the shit. I mean, you think about it, dude, I did it. However I can get through it. I prayed my ass off. I came real religious real quick when the test time came around. I sat next to kids who I thought was a little bit smarter, depending on which eye I could read a little bit better with. There was a side I sat next to and, copied off. I did the bullshit. Instead of actually just believing that I could do it. Just like I was, the first time I did a push-up, I wasn't good at it. The first time I did a bench press, all the kids, they see my chest, they're like, oh, how much you bench press? I don't fucking know. I haven't done that shit in 10 years. But when I was a kid, I used to do it a lot. And the more I did it, the better I got at it. Mm-hmm. Repetition. Well, if I did that shit with schooling, it was the same way. I just didn't know that. I didn't know that it was because I was told I was dumb. I was told I was less than.
Yeah.
And it drove me to motivate myself in one aspect of my life, but totally disregarded another aspect of my life. And I think us as men, we do that a lot. We use these insecurities to cover up a lot of things. And for me, it's most of my life I've kind of bounced around from different insecurities. I have a lot of experiences, and I'm grateful for all of them now, because it's given me a perspective where I can relate to a lot of people that I wouldn't have been able to relate to otherwise. Again, stories and dreams. My father provided the dreams. Mm-hmm. And the stories that I've lived and the experiences that I've had, the people look at them and say they're fucked up scars and they're terrible things, but I'm actually grateful for them. I really am. I'm at that point.
one thing we did talk about, and I want to touch on this because I think it's very important too whenever we talk about this. Your issues with CTE. We had a couple of drinks. I had a couple of shots of tequila before this, so I can't remember the exact acronym for CTE. It's the concussion. I can't recall the CTE. What CTE stands for. Give me 1 second.
Something about repetitive head hits or something like that. Either way, I'm pretty sure it can be diagnosed.
Traumatic encephalopathy.
What was it?
Chronic traumatic
Come closer to the microphone
Chronic.
so I can hear you. Hang on, the beautiful
she'll say it.
journaling will tell you. Come here.
Oh, no, you can say it. Go ahead, say it in the microphone.
Okay, all right.
Microphone. Speak it.
So CTE is chronic
I'll get a little closer.
traumatic encephalopathy.
Ooh, she got that beautiful voice.
That's awesome.
Better than that Google voice. So, one thing you did talk about with me when we first met, you mentioned the issues with it, and you almost I don't want to ruin the story yet, so I want you to tell it, but you almost did something terrible, and it's because the CTE, and I think it's something that we need to talk about because it's something that's not being brought up because of doctors and a couple of football players, but it's not being brought up enough.
Yeah. Number one, I want people to understand when we first met, I came to your house telling you this stuff, not knowing you were going to do any of this. Didn't know.
No, I didn't know.
I came there just to buy some stuff from you.
Some stuff from the garage.
and we just started talking. One of the things I did express to you was I got to a pretty low point after I got done playing football.
Mm-hmm.
I was hitting the head a whole lot. And I was suicidal for a while. It was sometime after 2008. Pretty darn quickly after I got done playing my last game. I think we played Purdue in the Champs Bowl in 2008.
Mm-hmm.
And that was late December, maybe early January, New Year's Day game, something along those lines. And again, I wasn't playing a whole lot, but special team specialist, but I was able to play the last maybe 5-6 minutes of that game, maybe a little bit less. And I believe I had my last hit in that game. At that point, it was very easy to get hit. The doctor said that, it didn't take much. So after a while there wasn't a whole lot they could do. So I stopped saying anything to anybody.
Uh-huh.
You just kind of got used to being hit in the head, and you start throwing up, and the little dots and the peripherals would come up, and you get nauseous with seeing lights, and there wasn't a whole lot you could do after that. And for me, I got to a point where I didn't know what was going on. I was trying to finish up my last 12 to 18 credits at the university there. And like I said, my last game was in January 1st or so, New Year's Day, late December, something along those lines. And we went on, had a winter term, which at University of Maryland was about 3 weeks long. You could take 3 credits.
Uh-huh.
I completed that. I believe I did. And then after that, I went on to my spring semester, and something changed. I didn't know what was going on. Everything got worse. I'm sure a loss of identity of not having a connection, all that stuff we were talking about with all that stuff earlier was a part of it. But for me, I had mental issues. Something wasn't right. I would read a sentence 15, 20 times over, not know what I read. I was mid conversation. Stop talking. Anger issues, getting frustrated and angry for no particular reason. I had a girlfriend at the time that I was with for a very long time. Good person too. And God bless her for staying with me as long as she did. But man, I'm pretty sure I put her through hell. I didn't physically do anything or anything like that, but I changed. I was mad at myself and the world. I didn't know why. I couldn't think. I wasn't able to talk. Wasn't able to process. There was a lot going on. And at the time, I blamed so many things, including myself. And that's a victim mentality. And for me, I had to get out of that. So for me, I had to come out of that point. And I really did. Like, I know it sounds bad to say that, but I was blaming myself, and I was blaming the coaches, and I was blaming, anybody I could, and anything, my family, my dad, my mom, my fucking brother and sister, my girlfriend, it didn't matter, myself, and it was all negative, and it was all bad. It was just very pessimistic, very negative. I lived in that world for a long time, and I spiraled down from that point. And eventually, I withdrew from school. I think the funny thing is they tried to charge me a couple times. The University of Maryland. I was on full scholarship, and they tried to charge me because I withdrew from their classes. Yeah, because I knew there was something up. And actually, talking about the mental and head issues and stuff, I stopped going to the doctors that were with the athletic program, and I went to the doctors that were on the school. And I don't know if I showed my mother. I don't know if I showed you or not. But I have a letter that I had to use against the university. They tried to charge me about $32,000 for the credits. I think it was about 12 or 16 credits, something like that, for out of state. They tried to charge me $32,000 in 2008 when I was, and I was going to a psychiatrist or psychologist. I'm not sure which one it would consider.
A therapist. Let's call it therapist.
We'll call it therapist. I went to a girl, and she documented all this stuff, the things I was going through, and I have a letter still. I can show you a little bit later. You do your pictures
that'd be
or whatever.
great. Yeah.
But and I used the letter for the school, and I said, "Look, there was something up. I don't know what's going on, but there's something wrong with me." And I couldn't. Depression wasn't the word, anxiety wasn't the word. It was deep.
What were you feeling? Can you describe it?
Oh man, I couldn't take 10, 15 steps without feeling nauseous.
Holy shit!
Most of the time, and I still look down a lot today. Lights fuck with me big time.
Is it just normal lights, or
daylight's okay unless the light reflects. I used to manage a couple stores here, and we're in Atlantic Beach, Jacksonville right now, Florida. I used to manage a couple stores here locally a couple years ago, and not a couple, more like 4 or 5. But either way, there would be reflections of cars that would come in. It was a storefront, so I would have to work retail and manage retail, and I would go through, and the cars would reflect from the light, and I would have to leave. I'd get to a point where I'd get migraines and nauseous and stuff like that, and I had to totally leave. This beautiful woman here has lights that she loves in her room, in her kitchen here when we walk through. And last 3-4 years, I've had to flip them off every time she turns them on, because I look down, and we have 2 kids that I'm helping to raise. And they'll turn the lights on because they're used to it, and it will mess with me. And lights are just something that's tough with me. It sets me off. I wear glasses to drive and to see now because of the hits the frontal lobe.
This normal glasses or sunglasses?
Both.
Both. Okay.
Prescription sunglasses, and because here in Florida, you know, how it is.
You need sunglasses.
You need sunglasses. You can't drive, and that's why the reflection off of the cars are some of the worst things for me. It's one of those triggers. I stopped exercising after I got done playing. Talking about symptoms, anxiety that I didn't have beforehand. I mean, out of nowhere stuff like panic attack. Just nonsense that I didn't experience at a younger age. When I mean nonsense, I mean like not being able to breathe, waking up in the middle of the night, just flat out panic attack, just breathing problems, all that stuff. And let me see what else symptoms wise. Wasn't able to exercise. Yeah, that's all I can think about symptoms now. But there's most of the things that have messed with me from the hits have been psychological. Been able to process short-term memory. Even since then, the certification, like I said, I'm a personal trainer. I have a wonderful certification that took me 3 tests to achieve, and probably about 4 or 5 years of processing and learning and repetition and repetition and repetition and repetition and repetition. And did I say repetition? Yeah. Okay. The reason of that, and then highlighting and then repeating it. I mean, I had to learn that way, you know, and I had to learn that I could learn that way again. Because not only being dyslexic and having the issues that I had as a kid to being told that, hey, you weren't good enough mentally to learn because you don't learn the way other people learn. Okay. I had to learn that I was able to do that. And after you have this huge sense of not just identity loss, but like sense of failure. I had a huge sense of failure because and that probably more than anything else, that's probably the biggest thing. I felt not good enough because I didn't achieve what I put self-pressure on myself to get to. People looked up to me. I had people that depended on me. And I wasn't able to lead myself into the position that was successful. And that was tough. So after that, I had to learn that I could evolve. I had to learn that my identity could be changed. Who I thought I could be changed. I didn't know I could do that. And it was the same principles that I applied to being physically gifted, if you want to call it that. You know, I don't think I'm blessed, gifted, but I had to fucking bust my ass to get this. You know, that's why, you know, people look at this shit and I say my kids, and the reason I say my kids, they're not my biological kids. They're kids I'm helping to raise. Again, this beautiful woman next to me has put 2 kids out there, and I'm helping to grow them into this world.
It's a big responsibility. My best friend, I'm not gonna mention the name because he told me last night.
He's like, don't fucking put my name out there.
Yeah, well, I made a joke about him because he likes making gay jokes. I told him I was gonna write a story called I'll just use his first name because it's just a very general name, broad name, but it was gonna be everything's gay to Joe. Everything's gay to Joe, but he actually, there's a touch on this. There was this girl that really good friends with his wife, and she said that she didn't think Joe was a good role model because he wasn't Christian enough. I'm like, I got pissed off because like, whoa. He's raising a daughter that's not his. He's a better father than the actual father.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't matter if he goes to church or not. That's still a holy thing.
Yeah.
That is still a good thing.
A lot of people like to judge other people. You know, we live in this society where it's instant gratification with a cell phone, and you know, people look at me a whole lot and they see this persona and the way I look, and I get judged a whole lot, which is okay. You know, people don't understand where other people are coming from. Empathy is a very hard thing to come by.
And it's so easy to practice, too. I mean, like, it's
easier said than done.
Never mind. It's simple to practice, but,
exactly.
But it's hard to do.
That's a Mel Robbins thing, too. Yeah, absolutely, dude. I'm right there with you. It's so refreshing when you hear other people and say that and do that. And that's why, you know, raising kids or helping to raise kids, you learn different perspectives and principles that you practice. And one of them that I've learned that I've practiced with myself and my family is, you know, you gotta be careful who you're around. You know, the people around you are very big. You know, not just people, what you're reading, what you're writing, what you're watching, all that stuff. You know, we talked about Tony Robbins earlier. You know, me and this beautiful woman go to a lot of events, and we've been to a couple of his, and he talks about you're gardening, you know, you have to guard that, you know, otherwise, you know, the weeds will grow if you're not keeping that, you know, garden protected. And that's a big thing, especially with kids. And any parent will probably tell you that. You know, they're very conscious of who their kids are hanging around, and you know, and as we get older, and I coach a lot of people, a lot of adults, a lot of people that are viewed as successful people that, you know, again, we all sway in one direction, you know, one way or the other, but, a lot of people that I coach, it's the same thing. We're just bigger kids. You know,
there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
As long as you take care of your responsibilities, that's fine.
If you understand that, but the thing is, we think we're better than that. You know, we think that we're not. We think that, no, you know, we allow our experiences that we've been shown here to change who we are. And that's, for the longest time, that was me. I allowed the world around me to change my perspective. And I believed it. And I couldn't have been more wrong. And that's what I hope people understand from this. If they don't understand anything else from my rambling or my scars from my past stories here, I hope they take that they can create whatever they want. If, you know, if you're willing to create enough action and continue to learn. That's been my advantage of being a dyslexic kid. You know, the forced learning from school has told me and taught me that, hey, you have to start opening the book this way. You know, for me, I work backwards, and that's my advantage. I didn't know that. I could work backwards, you know, and then get to those steps. Some people have to work forward. That's harder in my mind. You know, I didn't know that. They told me it was wrong, so I believed it for the longest time. And it couldn't have been farther from the truth. You know, and I hope people see that. And I hope people hear that, and I hope and I'm nowhere near, I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. I'm not saying I'm actually saying the exact opposite. I'm saying I've fucked up and I've made more mistakes than probably most people. I just hope people can learn from some of it. Because I was stubborn and I had to learn the hard way, through experiences and fears and insecurities and negativity and being pessimistic. And I had people that pulled me out of that. And I hope this provides some of that to somebody else.
Well, one thing I do not a lot of things I believe in anymore as I get older. But the things I do believe in, I think it's I think it's part of every religion and transcends it at the same time. But the most important thing I believe in is in stories. That's how we communicate as a species, as humanity. And I believe people's stories are important because of that. I think lately it's just we've been oversaturated with meaningless stories like celebrities who earn the title celebrity without anything to say, anything to offer, just fame and that's it. But people kind of forget what you said earlier too about empathy. That before you judge another person and you say like, "Oh, this person's not successful because he doesn't own $1 million house" or something like that, that might not be the reason. That might not be their gauge of success. Anyone got their own gauge of success. But maybe we should all sit down and listen to another person's story and actually truly listen. Suspend your disbelief, your biases for just a moment, and listen to what another person has to say.
Absolutely. And that's one of the things that I've realized over the years is that I thought for the longest time that I didn't have value. Until I started coaching other people and providing them what experiences I had and learned. When the story that we ultimately got to where we met was I was suicidal, and I got to a point where I almost shot myself in the heart. I was going to donate my brain to science because I wanted somebody to learn from it. And there's a movie. I used to have hair, and we can laugh now because I'm bald. But, I used to have, when I played football there, I had long hair. Yeah. Flowing locks out of the helmet. Like my last game against Purdue, it was flowing, beautiful locks. And there was a movie from the 80s that was, I think it was called Lethal Weapon.
Lethal Weapon.
Yeah, with
Mel Gibson and Danny Glover.
Yeah, he talks about a special bullet that he got there to kill himself. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting what you remember. But I remember that movie. And so in 2000, maybe 2008, 2009, sometime, it's probably closer to 2009. And again, this is after the economy crashed and all that stuff. I was living out of a single family or single apartment with my brother and two other players that I actually played with. Mm-hmm. And, man, we had nothing. I mean, we had like one desktop computer, and every now and then we'd get internet from stealing it from somebody next door or something like that. So we would all hop on there. Other than that, we were playing solitary, and it was rough. I mean, we didn't have much. And I remember this movie, and somehow I met this guy on the street, and I didn't know anything about guns or any of that shit, and he might have conned me out of it. I don't know, you were ex-officer, you probably know more about weapons than I do, but I said, "Hey, I'm looking for a special bullet," and I said armor piercing. I don't know if it was or not. The dude probably just sold me some random shit, but I paid $10 for this thing, and he gave me this bullet, and I kept it on me, and somehow one of the roommates that I was staying with, he fucking bought a gun. It was a 9mm Beretta, and I was getting drunk, and I was smoking cigarettes at the time. We were drinking, handles of Jack Daniels at a night. And at this point, the girlfriend that I had earlier in the story that I was telling you about, that was with me. We'd broken up. I was staying with these 3 guys, 2 ex-roommates and my brother. And they thought I was, especially my brother, he still laughs about it to this day, that he thought that I was depressed from the relationship, which I used it as a shield or as a mask. Mm-hmm. It was easier than to talk about the real problem. The real problem was I had not only the loss of identity, but I didn't know what was going on in my head. So I wrote a letter and was going to shoot myself in the heart. And I don't know what it was, but I couldn't do it. And we used to listen to country music all the time. It's maybe one of the reasons why I don't like it so much these days. But I remember not being able to do it, and then getting drunk and passing out on the floor, and my brother waking me up, and he said there was pictures of my ex-girlfriend on the ground at the time, and he thought it was all about that. And it really wasn't. It was really about what was going on in my head, and that I didn't feel like I had any other worth, and I didn't know what was going on. I couldn't control my mind. Like, it was just, I was having pains and migraines, or just, shit was just, I didn't know what was going on. And I loaded that damn fucking gun somehow. And I couldn't do it. Like, I was on my knees on the ground. I don't think I've ever told anybody this much of this story, but I was on the ground, and I had it, and I don't know if it was in there right or wrong or whatever. I don't know if it would backfire or not, or whatever guns do, but I had it on my chest.
What did they say when they found you like that?
Oh, you know us guys do. We brush it off and make jokes about stuff. You know, and it was easier to blame it on the next relationship than to
the truth.
Yeah. So I did.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that was a hard time.
You're not alone in this.
I need a break for a second.
Yeah, go ahead, take a break.
Sorry.
Alright, guys, we're gonna pause the interview for a moment. Okay, we're back. We had to take a little break.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you very much.
Plus, I had a pee too, so it was nice.
It wasn't just me.
Now we can keep going. People kind of forget how tough it is to go through life, and how some people, including myself and what you just admitted, contemplate suicide. There's an article on the website about my contemplation of suicide. I won't go in detail because it's on you can read for it, and I'm not going to steal your thunder on that or steal your spotlight on it. But
no, man, there's no stealing our spotlights, buddy. We're all here to tell our stories.
Yeah, but so going through what I went through from my personal experience, before I had a very biased response towards it. I thought people were weak for wanting to commit suicide, and then
I was right there with you.
Yeah, I really thought people were just like, why would you want to kill yourself? And it's stupid. Like, they're idiots or they're weak. And then
I thought it was a very cowardly thing.
Yeah,
you know.
But sometimes something pushes you there, and when you hit that place where it's just black, There's no light. You lose hope. That's kind of like the place where, you have a decision to make. Do you follow through with it, or do you need a fight out of that? That's what I found out.
What was it for you that pulled you out of it? What was it for you that allowed you to fight? Why did you fight? What was your why?
Not to romanticize suicide, and I'm kind of concerned about that article I wrote because I don't want to romanticize it.
You're in your head too much, brother.
But
you tell your story, man.
I thought I could commit career suicide when I was a police officer, and I chose to speak out against the department. This make it easier to say I whistleblew against the department, and I thought I felt guilty. At first, I felt good about it. Then I felt guilt and a lot of shame, and I felt like I committed career suicide. And originally, I was taking a road trip across the U.S. and had my gun with me, and I was really thinking about it and planning it. I had my Glock with me, my Glock 30. It's a 45 caliber, so it's going to do the job. There's not going to be a chance of survival. Maybe a day before, maybe 2 days before, I'm not sure, but I know it was right before I went to the Grand Canyon because I was going to do at the Grand Canyon. I decided not to. I was planning it, I was thinking about it, I was entertaining it. And I decided not to. And I hiked into the Grand Canyon. I can't remember how many miles was it I hiked into. I think I decided 3 or 5 miles. I didn't go to the actual bottom where the Colorado's at. I went to where there's where you can overlook the Grand Canyon or the Colorado River. So you're deep into it, but not there at the Colorado River. I just sat there on a ledge overlooking this beautiful freaking place. It's my second time there. I'm thought, you know what? No matter what happens, I'm going to get out of this. I'm going to fight. And that hike back out to, back up to the actual top of the Grand Canyon where my car was parked was kind of like symbolic for me because I was in a safe place. So if something happened to me, there was a chance my hiker was going to find me and, I could still get rescued, but I didn't bring enough electrolytes with me, and the heat from the desert, or not from the sun, from the desert too, and all that hiking, I lost a lot of electrolytes. I was cramping up. It was painful, and the hike was tiring because it's easy going down, but it's harder going back up. And I hiked my way back up to the top. And it took me a while, and my legs were cramping, my body was cramping. There was a couple of times I thought, like, man, I was worried I thought I had to go to the hospital. Like, I thought I might have to get another hiker. It's like, hey, go get a ranger. Well, I hiked my way to the top, in pain, ran as fast as I can, went to the store, got some beef jerky and some nuts, and just ate it. Just something, the salt and sugar in it, just get something back in my system, because you could die from that. That's how a lot of hikers and runners die. Yeah, you could die from that. Yeah. I stood over the canyon. I'm like, I think that was symbolic for life. Like, you're going to hit something that's going to bring you down, and it might be from your choice or from your doing, or it might be from outside influences, something out of your control. And it's a choice. All of it is just a toy. There's a choice. That there's no magic word. There's no prayer. It comes down to a choice. Do you want to die by your own hand, or by what fate dealt you, or you deal your own fate?
and that was the choice I made. I want to deal with my own fate. Recently, I had to go through that same circumstances again. I was just telling you and your lovely girlfriend. Recently, I was just laid off from a job, and earlier past 2 years, I've left a job so I could try to start my own business and failed. And when I got laid off from this job, it hit me hard. I'm like, I'm in debt. I have bills to pay. I don't have the money to pay them. I have nothing in my savings, and a lot of my friends are doing well for themselves. A couple of them are doing pretty good, and I'm here, rock bottom. And I told myself I'm a loser. No woman's gonna love me. That I'm not good. This is it. This is the end. I hit rock bottom, and the suicidal thoughts came back. I got rid of the Glock 30. I traded in for a hunting rifle, a Marlin 3030. I love lever actions. No, I contemplated for a while. Like, maybe I should do it. My life is not worth it. And, I think the saving grace was a fury. I call it a fury inside. That if I'm not gonna die by my own hand, I'd rather die with my teeth out. Like, if this is going to end, then I gotta go out fighting. I gotta do what I love. I love doing this podcast.
I heard that.
This is something that brings me purpose. That I realized in the past couple of weeks that even at rock bottom, I have something to offer, and I have something worth that people do care about me. Like, I found out this past week I had to sell my motorcycle. And it's something that I wanted as a kid. It was a goal since I was 10 years old. Mm-hmm. I sold it, and I felt pretty good about it. Because I still had to pay a loan on it and had insurance, but that was less debt. I'm like, okay, I feel pretty good about it. But one thing I realized was that it was my stepfather, who maybe I should have more of a relationship with. He's the one that helped me out. And he's the one that came to my rescue and helped me sell it. And helped me out, get out of that situation. And that's more than my real father has ever done. I have not talked to my real father in over a decade, maybe 15 years. A little bit less than 15, but more than a decade. And I realized that. Then I realized there was people that care for me.
How did that make you feel when you
Which
realized
part?
that? Like when your stepfather was there?
I wish I didn't have the depression and anxiety so I could see it better.
Are you writing?
Yeah, I write the articles and shit, and
Do you write for you?
the articles are for me. That's why they're politically incorrect and they have swears in it, but they're honest. It's my way of expressing myself to the world. Like, hey, this is my real me. Something real that's not fake. And I think that's what's also going wrong with the world too. We're so worried about a brand or putting on an image, and then if you show your real self,
Mm-hmm.
you'll get rejected. I felt like that. I want to have a girlfriend. It's embarrassing too. I want to have a girlfriend, and I was this rock hard bottom. I was afraid to talk to women, flirt, because I didn't have any money. And then last week, I was shown I was wrong. It didn't matter I had a job. It mattered who I was.
Mm-hmm.
The date went completely wrong. Clearly, I can safely say it wasn't me. Like, man, I had to walk away from her. I literally walked away from her. Like, man, this woman's crazy. I walked away from her.
It's
like, this
funny,
is,
huh?
but like, actually, I felt better about myself. Like, no, I still got it.
Yeah.
It's still there. It's a battle I have to win.
It's interesting though. You know, I guess if we view it that way.
Oh, I thought she was still behind. I thought she was behind me.
Oh, we're talking about the girlfriend. She's stealthy. You gotta be careful.
Yeah,
you gotta keep your head on swivel. It's interesting, you know, if we have that perspective of we view it as a battle, then us as men, we find a fight. If we view life, then that's why that's what I want people to understand about my life and where I'm at right now. I'm at a point, that's one of the reasons why I'm actually so grateful that you even asked me to do this. Because this is a coming out party for me to put all my cards on the table. I want people to know that everything that you see around you right now is beautiful. It's fake. It's just, dude, I'm fucking broke. And I'm so out leveraged right now. But that's just financially, what I know, what I've learned from, the value that I have from the experiences that I've had, people don't get it. The friends that you have, your mind rock bottom right now, in the economy we are living in, the people that are thinking and shit's okay, bro, we are the advantage. Things are easy right now. Things are nice. It's summertime.
Yeah.
You know, these people talk about the economists and the gurus or whatever, Joe fucking Smo, you know, they talk about it, what goes up must come down. In the rising economy that's been going up for the last 10 plus years, like I told you, 2008, I was living out of a Gold's Gym. You know, going back between that and a 3-bedroom apartment with these guys, I was sleeping in a Gold's Gym kids club at night because I couldn't afford a bus ticket going back and forth. And this is 30-degree weather, and we're freezing our ass off right now here, right? And we're here, luckily, in Florida, where it's 59 degrees right now, 60 degrees, and we're shivering right now. Well, I've been cold. I've been hungry. And I had to stay at that gym in Greenbelt, Maryland, 2009, 2008, when the economy dipped or crashed, whatever you want to call it. But you're 31. I'm about to be 34 in a couple weeks. And our fucked up past that we've had, that we're actually can find grace in. Like, that's where I'm at. I'm actually grateful for where I'm at and all the experiences I've had. And I haven't even told you some of them. Like, we have an advantage that these people don't understand. Because shit's gonna hit the fan. Things will go up, things will come back down. There's gonna be an experience that's gonna happen that people don't see yet. And we haven't experienced it. No, anybody hasn't experienced it in the last 100 years or so. The Great Depression was about, 100 years ago? 2000?
More than that, yeah. A little more than that.
More. What, 1920?
No,
so?
Yeah, we're coming up on it.
About 1920 or so, 1930, so somewhere in between there, right? 34 was the war, right? So somewhere in that time frame, they say a depression happens every 50 years. There hasn't been a Great Depression. We had a couple dips. Again, you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what you can learn. And that's what I've experienced in that when you learn from mentors or when you learn from people that have actually been there instead of the forced learning that they try to tell you, you can see a different perspective in a way that these people that are successful, that are truly successful and are humble about it, are willing to teach it if you're willing to pay for it. You know, and that's the thing people don't realize, that you have to be able to give back to people. You know, people aren't just going to hand you stuff. You have to be able to earn it, you know. And when you do that and you see that and you learn from these mentors, they're preparing. They're preparing for, like people who watch the Game of Thrones, they're preparing for winter. Winter's coming. You know, I think, Tony Robbins says that too, right? It's gonna come back to where 2008 was nothing. The interest rates are nowhere near what they used to be. The
wages are stagnant.
And the debt's going through the roof still. People don't realize it. Google it, people. Use their interweb. You know, look at what the U.S. is really spending, and look at some of these other countries. Look at South America right now. Look at Greece. People can't pull their money out of Greece from 10, 15 years ago when it crashed. They can't, out of the banks. You think your money's safe in banks?
Not even 10, 15 years ago. That was recent.
Yeah. You know, so look at that stuff. You know, so people don't realize is that my life and my experiences that I've had, I'm actually grateful for being uncomfortable. I've been handed a fucked up past and experiences and things and loss of identity and all that stuff. I was homeless, living in a gym, you know, not being able to have food 2-3 days. I remember a week at a time I couldn't eat. You know, 2008 was tough. 9, 10, 11, all that shit was really hard for me. You know, really hard. And I was actually lucky enough to have family I could run back to. You know, I ran back to my mom here in Atlantic Beach. You know, and that was actually a girlfriend before that, and then to my mother. Funny how you got your girlfriend first, and then, hey, mom, I need help. I have to gotta get away from a crazy girlfriend. You know, but it's people don't realize it, man. People think that shit's cool, and they want instant gratification. You know, go out and spend money that you don't have. Live a life that buy shit that you don't like for people that you don't like. You know, and it doesn't make you feel any better. And then you go out and buy more shit. And I do it, and I've been there, and you don't know it until you identify this stuff, and then you see from mentors, and you see from people that will learn if you work backwards. You know, work backwards like a dyslexic guy. That's me. That's my advantage. So that's how I can relate to my son. And again, I say my son and not my biological son. Hey, beautiful. The beautiful Miss Jody Lang is back again here, people. Her hair's looking fabulous.
With boots and coat.
She's got her scarf on and everything. But that's the thing that people don't realize is that until you can actually be grateful for the fucked up things that have happened in your life, that's your advantage.
My thing is I pity people that never went through trying times. I pity.
You shouldn't pity anybody, buddy. That's a negative aspect.
Yeah, that's probably bad to look at. But like, it's just, it's like what you said too. Like, there's advantage to going through hitting rock bottom sometimes.
There's a huge fucking advantage, bro.
It's when you take that climb back up when you have that advantage.
When you realize that you're still fucking here, man. Like, when you talking about glorifying suicide, fuck that. First of all, don't apologize for anything that's ever happened in your life. Like, that's what I don't do anymore. Like, I don't apologize. I am who I am. Like, and you know, not only from coaching other people and successful people, dude, we're all fucked up, dude. Like, and beautiful, you need more water? Like, okay, yeah, do your water. But hey, we go to conferences with super successful people. You sit down and you talk to people and you get into some real shit. Like, you write down, you have to actually, they force you to go through, okay, why are you fucked up? Yeah. And like, we do this stuff. We have to go through, and you have to do that with people that are governors, people that are business owners, male, female, like, and we all have the same insecurities. And for me, you overlooked it in there. One of the last things that I realized that, like, I have an advantage, and I didn't realize it. And if I don't use my story and my path, if I don't become the leader that I was meant to become, people are going to miss out. If you don't do your podcast, if you don't tell your story, if you don't speak your real truth, if I don't do this, people are going to miss out. I realized that a couple weeks ago. And I did some crazy shit, and I helped other people do some crazy shit. that the world would view as crazy, and I hesitated at first as a leader.
Mm-hmm.
I had a group. This beautiful woman was in that group. We had to do some shit that scared the fuck out of me. Scared the fuck out of it. I think just about every one of us, and I don't want to give it away. If the people want to take the class, I'm going to tell the name of the class, and I'm not trying to promote anything. It's free. What was the name of it?
Millionaire Mindset Intensive.
Millionaire Mindset Intensive. If people want to take the class, we did it a couple weeks ago. 4 weeks ago in Orlando. And I hesitated in one of their drills. It was at the end of the weekend. And I'm not going to give it away on what the drill is because I don't want to steal away from the experience. But I hesitated as a leader. And because of my fear of not being good enough, I put enough pressure on myself as you started this whole interview off with, tell me your story as a football player. And I laughed at that because that's when I felt the least as a human being, as a man, as whatever you want to put out there when I was at that time frame. And I failed at what I thought was successful. I had people that legitimately relied on me, and I wasn't able to provide success because I couldn't go anymore. I quit. You know, I always told myself I would die before I stopped playing the game. And I had all the head issues and all that shit going on, and I knew I was done, and I had to pull away. But I hated myself for doing it because I knew people relied on me. And then, like I said, I spiraled downhill from there and had to really climb out from that point. But I didn't realize that I could do and be so much more. And I had to fight my ass off for that. But I had to believe that first. You know? And until you get to that point, until you can realize that, hey, you're still here. I went a week without eating. You say, but I know I'm still alive. I can fucking I can live through that. I'm stronger than I realize. You know, our heads get in the way of so much. And that was for me when I had a head frontal lobe disorder. You know, he said CTE, and I said that's a very victim mentality, and I don't like it because I blamed so much, and I blamed myself, and I blamed everybody else. And I used that victim mentality for so long. And now I have to pull on the opposite side of that. I don't view anything anymore as failure. I'm going to learn from everything. And I'm going to keep going. I'm dyslexic. I'm okay with that. I'm like that fucking little vacuum that has the motorized little thing and it bounces into one thing and keeps going. You know, that's how I want to be. You know, I want to try. I want to step off that ledge and I want to go. Yeah, I missed the camaraderie of pulling other people out there. But I missed out on that leadership because I put so much pressure on myself and I viewed myself as failing because I stopped. I stopped trying. And the loss of identity, the body, all that bullshit, the leadership position is what I was really meant for. And to pull people along and to say I'm good enough. With the people that I've experienced and what we went through with, and not just in that course, but with my own family. Realizing that even in the last year or so, I gave you a business card when we first met. That business card has been a failure as far as a business goes. A personal training business, a studio trading, basically trading time for money. It was for me. I ran myself in the ground. Basically what we were talking about earlier, trying to do everything myself. And I missed out on my true aspect of what I really was and who I was. The reason I didn't kill myself, and I asked you why, what was your why? I said to you, what was it that for you that pulled you out? What was it that stopped you from that? And you pushed yourself to a point where you believed you could do some shit you didn't realize you could do, and you still had some fight in you. You didn't even know that. That's what pulled you out, correct? Okay. For me, what pulled me out, and this sounds really fucking stupid, but you know what? I'm going to backtrack from that. I'm not going to even say that. For me, what pulled me out of it was two things. Okay. One, I had to know what I really loved. I thought it was playing a game of football. It really wasn't. It was in the preparation of the game for football. All the effort that I had to do because I had to outwork everybody to a point where I sprained my fucking ankle 7 times. Then I had to keep going. Then I had to take more pills or Percocets or tape my ankle up more or fucking the cortisol shots or Novocaine directly to a hamstring that I ripped off, or they had to tie a band to my calf and my hip so my leg would pull up when I had a partial tear in my hamstring my senior year, and I kept practicing through it. All this stupid shit that like I as a man that I felt like I had, I'm tough enough, I had to keep going. It was dumb. It was, again, I thought that I was only a body. I'm not. I had a heart, I had a soul, I had a mind. I didn't develop anything else besides my body. So those other aspects of my life, I didn't see. Well, no shit, dumbass. You don't work at it, it doesn't work for you. You don't use it, you lose it. The universe, God, whatever you want to call it, dude, it will take it away if you're not gracious and willing to keep it in your life. If you don't work at your body, it will fucking diminish. You don't work at your mind, it's going to diminish. You don't work at your soul, your spirituality, fuck religion. I don't like religions. But if you don't work at your spirituality, the true being, whatever your real I am is, whatever is your grand creator, whatever you want to call it, universe, God, Buddha, who gives a fuck? Be you. But if you don't work at it, dude, you're going to lose it. We have to constantly work at it. And for me, that's why I wake up at 3:09. This beautiful woman here, she could testify to that. I might piss some other people off but I'm going to be myself. And I know for me that I had to get to that aspect. One was, what did I love? It was preparing physically to move. I love the movement. I love moving. I like keeping my body healthy. I like feeling good. I like pushing myself. I like blood flowing. I like knowing that I could push myself to where my quads are going to rip off almost. I've cramped up in full body cramps. I like it. Like, dude, I get it, man. I know why you didn't kill yourself. You felt the blood flowing. You felt alive still, right? Yeah? Mm-hmm. Yeah? Okay. Dude, I get it, man. That's why I love exercise. That's why I love pushing myself. One of the other stories you don't know about me is I'm highly allergic. I'll tell you number 2 in a second. I'm highly allergic to a lot of foods. And I went into anaphylactic shock. I used to break out into hives all the time. I'd play basketball for hours. Actually, the routine was I would work out or football practice, whatever. And then we'd go to the YMCA. When I say we, I said my brother, my cousins, 2 of them, 2 boys. We'd all go work out at the YMCA and then play basketball for 3-4 hours after that. Well, somewhere in between there, I would eat CC's pizza, $2.99, all you can eat pizza, because we didn't have a whole lot. And I would break out in hives constantly, basically from the age of puberty. And for me, I hit puberty at like 9. So from 9 to 17, I was breaking out in the hives all the time. I didn't know what it was from. Around 17, I went into anaphylactic shock into YMCA, and I was playing basketball with my cousins and brother, and I went into the locker room, sat down on a bench. I was going into shock there. My throat was closing up, and I fell backwards and collapsed. And when I collapsed, I couldn't speak. I don't know if anybody's ever gone through point where you can't, anaphylactic shock or whatever, but your throat starts to close all the way up, and you honestly get to a point where you can't talk, and that's pretty scary initially, and you can't breathe. And if you ever try to take a deep breath in and haven't been able to do that, it's very scary. So you kind of freak out for a second. Well, there was people that were walking by. It was interesting. YMCA, you think of, religions, whatever. Mm-hmm. You go through that and think, okay, well, you collapse on the ground. It's not like I was playing around. I was turning purple. And people were walking by me, and I try to reach out, and all this is maybe seconds that, that I'm going through all this. I have one foot collapsed up, my head's against the locker, and I remember thinking, I was like, all right, this is it. This is time. I'm ready to go. And I grew up in a Roman Catholic church. Not a fan. Okay. I'm not a fan of religions, but, I do attend a church now because I like the connection of people. But I'm more spiritual. I don't consider myself any of that type of religion stuff. But I said, okay, here it is. I'm ready to go. And next thing I remember is like the old Looney Tune commercials. I don't know if you're young, but if you remember them, they kind of would start out real wide and they would kind of come into like a little narrow hole and they'd block you out. Well, that's what I remember. And then I was out. The next thing I remember after that is about 6 firefighters. Again, I was 17. And again, I was a college athlete, so college recruited athlete. So at that point, so I was probably 6'3", 275 to 285 pounds at the time. I mean, I was a strong kid. So there was about 6 or 7 firefighters trying to pick me up after they gave me the shot, the EpiPen or whatever it was that they gave me. They were trying to pick me up. They needed more people to pick me up. And I remember them calling like reinforcements. And so I went from like the Looney Tunes, black you out, head against the locker, knocked out, not knowing what's going on, anaphylactic shock, to these guys trying to pick me up. And, I spent a couple of days in the pediatric hospital in Halifax Hospital in Daytona Beach, Florida. It's where I was actually born. Halifax Hospital down there. But, it was interesting being 275, 280 pounds in a pediatric hospital. I was there, but I couldn't find a doctor that knew what was going on back then. If you said all this stuff about gluten and lactose and all these food allergies, they didn't know what the hell all that stuff was. And I think I found one doctor in Orlando after this stuff happened repeatedly. In my family, you didn't go to the hospital unless there was a bone sticking out. Like, I'm serious. Like, we had a couple sprained ankles that I had in high school from playing basketball. Never went to. There was pretty darn near close to bones coming out that we didn't go. But I would break out in the hives a lot from 9 years old to 17 when that finally happened. And, no understanding of really what was going on. And I finally met one doctor in Orlando and he's like, yeah, you have an exercise-induced food allergy. And I was like, to what? And he was like, to gluten and to lactose.
Ooh.
So
almost everything.
Yeah, well, there's a lot, and so it was popular, I guess, these days. I've been pulling off, staying away from for a long time. But that stuff is easier, that stuff's easier for me to back away from. But to be able to give back to people, was the second thing for me that kept me from killing myself. To answer your question, Jody, and keep me in line of telling the story here. I went from that point where I was having the perspectives of being grateful for blacking out and not having that opportunity to take a breath and having that understanding, and not being able to physically play a sport and do the things that when you take a freedom away from somebody, it doesn't really matter what it is. Like, here in this country, we pride ourselves on having that freedom, right? So, like, you take that away from us and we kill for it, right? Especially us men. We'll kill ourselves for it. I almost did. It sounds like you almost did too, right, brother?
Yeah.
I mean, shit, we were fucking there. Think of that. Like, we have that perspective. We almost did that to ourselves, destruction of ourselves, instead of creating what we were put here ultimately to do. And what you're doing right here. What I do for me to be able to, my number one purpose is, well, how do I create? How can I give back? Those were my two things for me. And I thought it was football initially is what I loved, but it was really the preparation. And the other thing was I liked helping people. Those two things for me are what were my purpose, what kept me from destroying myself. Not realizing that I had that value to give back to people, that I can create, that I can create beautiful things, and not only that, that I can involve myself to create whatever I really want to, if I believe that hard enough, and just fucking create the actions enough to do it. You know, get out of my goddamn way. You know, I'm so in my own way all the time. I'm my biggest enemy. You know, and that's one of the reasons why I love what I do so much, is because it allows me to break myself down. The bodybuilding. You know, it breaks nobody else down except for myself. I'm creating, by the time you walk out of the gym or whatever, and the body's just the initial start. You know, I heard a great perspective that said that the body's a subconscious mind. You know, that's all it is. The body's a subconscious mind. It's a reflection of it. So when you think of it in that perspective, it's the habits you create. So if you're doing this stuff, if you look the way I do, well, you're probably lifting some heavy weights. You know,
training about body healthy.
You're probably working pretty intensely. You know, so if you're doing those things for you, and if you love yourself, you realize that, hey, I love myself now. That's where I'm at. I love myself enough to the point where I'm going to create whatever I want to, and I could break myself down. And then that's what kept me from destroying myself. I could give that back to other people. Hey, you're good enough to create whatever you want to in you. You know, if you want to be a sexy, confident man, dude, God, fucking go get it, bro. But you have to believe it first and then create those actions. You know, push yourself. And once you get that blood flowing where you feel like your quads are about to rip off and you realize they're not going to, like you did when you're climbing up that mountain,
Mm-hmm.
that's your, like you said, that's your story for your path to be able to create you. That's what's keeping you from destroying yourself. It's really breaking yourself down. You're evolving. For me, that's the gym. That's how I can help other people. It's a connection I go back to what you said is, you know, and I kind of said it earlier, it's hard to find in the community a connection of you need a shield next to you. That's why I love the gym. And that's why I like being in a big, at least working out in a big gym, is because I can connect with other people. It doesn't matter if it's a 90-year-old woman who's in there just trying to do functional stuff and get by in her daily life, or a 15-year-old kid who wants quote-unquote abs. Why the fuck does he want abs? Because he wants to get laid, bro. We and you know that. I know, right? Yeah. He doesn't want fucking abs. He wants some chicks. I get it, dude. You get it. We get it. You know, so we got abs.
Listen, if it wasn't for sex, we wouldn't care about abs.
But dude, you know, I work with a lot of people, and motivation is motivation. You know, and motivation, like Mel Robbins says, is just action. You have to create it. But inspiration is different. And a lot of things inspire other people. My father inspired me to be a better man. And the only reason I got to play college football, which use your interweb and see what Google says about the percentage of people that get from high school to college, it's very small, right? Okay. So as a human being, my father gave me enough inspiration by calling me a village idiot to get to such a small population of people. I just didn't know that I could apply that same inspiration to anything else I wanted to in my life. It didn't matter if it was my relationship, my sexuality, my financial life, my spirituality, my relationships, whatever you want to be on there, buddy. That's the thing we don't realize. You create whatever you want, and we're constantly creating. But what you reap is what you sow.
Yeah.
And what you put out there, but if you put negative shit out there, if you create from a point of negativity, if you create from a point of pain, of suffering, of not good enough, or there's not enough out there, there's enough for everybody. And we don't realize it, and we beat ourselves up thinking that there's not. And we'll rip the other person apart thinking that there's not. And when you realize that you can learn something from anybody, It doesn't matter what perspective they have. If you think you can't learn something, you're losing. If we think that we can't learn something from people that are super successful because the only thing they're super successful is posting a picture on Instagram, if you feel like you can't learn something from that, if you can't realize that you can't learn from a president that said that they're going to do some shit and then actually fucking went out and did it after being so disrespectful and had no absolutely perspective or things out there, but just said they were going to do it enough and believed in themselves enough. If you think you can't learn from that, if you think you can't learn from a book that was out from 2,000 years ago and is still relevant, you're losing out. There's learning from everything, and that's for me. I've realized that. And then if I can't learn from everybody or something, then I'm missing out. And the more I learn, the less I understand. I think Einstein said that. You know, it's a really cool perspective, and you humble yourself in that. And we could do that as men. It's a tough thing to do, but it's a really cool perspective to come from.
Yeah. Kind of cut you off because
go ahead.
we're gonna go into like the question part.
Yeah.
Because usually I do this 20, 30 minutes ago, but we're having a deep talk.
Yeah.
Just for everyone that's first time listeners and returning listeners, this part of the interview is the question part. These questions are interpersonal questions. They're supposed to show a different side of a person, the more intimate side of a person. The reason why I ask these questions is because of my goal is to get the full spectrum of the human condition. And doing that means that you're going to listen to people's stories who you don't agree with. And these questions show a different part of that person that we can all relate to each other if you just listen to their story and listen to what they say. So that's the reason why I ask these questions. So we'll get started with them. Some of them are fun and some of them are very deep and serious. So the first one's a fun one. Given the choice of anyone in the world from any time period, who would you want as a dinner guest and why?
Oh, that's a good one. And I've thought about this many of times. The question is, who do I pull off? Oh, God. There's so many people. Einstein is one. That's a big one for me. To have a perspective of where he came from and constantly learning. Nikola Tesla is another one.
Tesla.
Snoop Dogg is another one.
Oh, that's a random one.
Is it?
You had Einstein, Tesla, they had Snoop Dogg.
Snoop, but you think about what he's created.
Well,
I'm thinking about creators.
I was talking to my friend the other day about him because he said like he likes the old school rap, and he said like I love Snoop Dogg because he didn't try to be anyone else but himself.
I love that.
Like he's like, well, the Snoop Dogg.
Yeah, but not only that, but like, who is he not relatable to?
Yeah, he's just like,
and he's gonna be himself.
He smokes pot with
Martha Stewart.
Does he smoke pot with Martha Stewart?
And Betty White too.
No, he smokes pot with oh my God, the country singer.
We already know this one. This is gonna be good.
No, like oh my God, I can't believe it's on the tip of my tongue. Famous pothead country singer.
Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson.
Okay.
You see pictures of them together. They're like they're exchanging Christmas sweaters.
Good for them.
They're like that makes sense that it will be like best friends.
Martha Stewart are really close.
Yeah.
Really?
All those entrepreneurs, and that's why I love that. I love that perspective. He's not only that. What's the iPhone saying? That perspective of you can go out and you can make that. You can be yourself. And that's, again, it doesn't matter if you're the current president, which is amazing in that, the leadership position, or Snoop Dogg. If you feel like you can't learn from those type of people that are truly themselves and they really don't give a shit what other people think, that's pretty, it's, to me, that's encouraging.
Yeah.
That shows a lot of courage. In this day and age, with the judgmental world that we all live in, that people think, oh, my shit doesn't stink, that I'm better than you. It's all fake. You know, it's all bullshit. And when you start trying to give back to other people and try to add value to other people, you realize that, you know, you can't take people where they don't want to go. And you have to ultimately just be there to that empathy. Like you said, it sounds simple, but it's really not. You know, they generally care about people with themselves and who they are. You know, so people like that can be very successful in branding themselves by being themselves. I think that's awesome, man. You know, that's really cool. Some other people that was your question of who would like to have dinner with?
Mm-hmm. Got a bunch of questions.
Oh, dude, I have so many answers. If you want to go on to the next one, I can give you some more people if you want.
Nah,
I'll give you 3, I think.
No, I think 3 is good enough. Probably just a good question for you, because of physical fitness. If you reach the age of 100 and have the choice of retaining the mind of a 30-year-old or the body for the last 60 years of your life, which would you want?
Okay, so I get to choose between being the mind of a 30-year-old or a body?
Retaining the mind, basically the functions of the mind. Not your memories at the time, but like your
ability. I understand.
Yeah.
The mind or the
or the body you have for the last 60 years.
Man, they're from a physical fitness perspective, there's so much one and the same. Mm-hmm. And I think people miss out on that. The mind, I think I said it earlier, your subconscious mind is your body. So if you have a body that's physically attractive, there's probably a reason it's physically attractive. You know, we are humans, which there's some of us, a part of us is animal. Some of us is a grander part, but some of us is animal. And that instinct as an animal, if you're attracted to somebody, it's probably for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably because, hey, you think they're going to live a fucking long time. And, you know, and that, whatever they're doing is probably a subconscious of their mind. And their mind's probably a little bit better. The more you use all those things, the better it gets. So for me, I feel like if the body is on point at 60 years old, then the mind's got to be pretty darn close. So I'm going to say the body.
Okay.
Because I believe they're one and the same.
One and the same. Actually, good answer for that one. What would constitute a perfect day for you?
Today was pretty fucking awesome.
Yeah? Why?
Man, I wake up every day around 3:01 and I practice grace, which for me is I put my hand on my heart, I put my other hand on my diaphragm, and I do breathing techniques, and I think of 3 things that I'm grateful for. That's at 3:01. By 3:09, I hit the first snooze.
The first snooze.
and there's and I'm doing mobility drills with the ankles and all that stuff and all that. I have some caffeine to get my body moving. By 4 o'clock, I'm usually out of bed. This morning, I don't know what term you want to use it, but the beautiful woman next to me was awake and vibrant.
We're adults. You can say it.
It's okay.
It's okay. We're adults.
It was nice to fuck her early in the morning.
I thought you were gonna say we had sex. But he's like, oh yeah, we fucked.
No, I don't. I'm really not a. I'm not a love maker or sexer, but yeah, that was nice to fuck early in the morning. Because that was pretty cool. But then you know, I really do. I wake up that early every morning, and I do things for myself. I I listen to motivational YouTube stuff. I play with the dogs. You met them. They jumped all over you. We had two huskies. I write. I force myself to at least write something. And when I say write, sometimes it's physically on paper. Sometimes it's voice to text.
Mm-hmm. But the action's still there.
Yeah. Yes. I force myself to get the mind moving because I don't like to write. And I've actually contributed to a book recently for a friend of mine that I played with.
Mm-hmm.
If he uses any of my content or not, I'm not sure, but I'll leave it at that because I'm not sure if he even wants me to even say anything yet.
Mm-hmm.
But to force myself to even get to that point where I can contribute anything for me is a big step, and I've actually practiced everything I'm telling you now for. You see, I've had my failing training business for about 4 years. Excuse me, nonprofit.
Nonprofit as well.
Unintentional nonprofit. So I've practiced these things fairly recently, but the last 3 or 4 years, and it's keeping me out of anxiety, keeping me into a point where I feel better, and I can. You saw a couple of my boards. John Maxwell, let's get the name right, says it on one of his books, and I love it. It's if you want to lead other people, you got to lead yourself first, and you got to practice leadership. You practice it, you study leadership, you practice those things, and you lead yourself. For me, that's what I do. I wake up that early to lead myself and to find inspiration in other people that are better than me. And for me, things like playing with my dogs. This morning of fucking her is a rarity. It's a rarity, but it's a blessing that I'm very grateful for.
4 a.m. it is.
Yeah, look at her face. Yes.
4 a.m.
Hey, but honestly, any morning that I wake up, that I'm breathing, and I told you that I actually hit that snooze, I've gotten to a point where I used to wake up, fucking anxiety, dude, panic attack. And even when I had a little daughter here that you'll meet, there's times that she's woken up panic attacks. I've had to take her out here on this porch right here that we're talking on right now and do breathing techniques. And that's why I am grateful. People, you don't know why the fuck you're handed the shit you're handed. Be patient. And somewhere down the line, this shit's gonna pay off if you're fucking patient enough. But practice that goddamn patience. Because it's not easy for me. And I didn't realize who the pain and suffering that I had to experience in my past, my scars, I didn't realize who would value them. And it wasn't me. I'm so grateful for that. If I could take some pain from other people and they can learn from me, I hope that's the point. And I didn't know what that pain was there for. So for me, any day I wake up and I'm actually breathing, and I can think of those 3 things that I'm grateful for. Some days it's just to actually take a breath because I wasn't able to do that when I was lying on that floor.
Mm-hmm.
Some days it's for that beautiful woman's playing on that damn phone right there. Fucking iPhone. Okay. Sometimes it's for the fact that I can give back to these kids any value and keep them from having any pain, or just be there for them. That's what I realized as a dad too. So you can't take pain from everybody. They're going to have to learn most of the time you just got to be there. That's what I was grateful for my family too. My father and my mother have always been there. Even if I pushed them away or not, they were there. I'm grateful for that. But those type of things, the fact that fucking people want to even meet me at, I told you I had a non-profit, training business the last, 4 years. Well, the last year or so, they'll fucking probably find out if they ever hear this, but screw them. I had to go back and start working for the corporations, talking about having, not having faith in the corporation. Last year, I started working for the LA Fitness, which is about hop, skip, and a jump away from where we're at right now. So the fact that people even want to meet me at 5 a.m, that's why I wake up at 3:09 and give myself the time frame to do the breathing techniques, to play with the dogs, to have the protein shakes, to have the caffeine. If a beautiful woman or two or three or whatever are there and they're awake and willing to fuck me, then I'm about it. If not, then I'm moving on to the writing and the breathing techniques and the drugs and all the other shit that I do to get myself going in the morning. And then if people don't actually want to physically meet me by 5 a.m., then I'm going to exercise. And that's usually a perfect day for me. At that point, if I could spend any time with the kids and the family, that's an even better day. So if I could start my day off that way every day, that's a grateful day for me. If I can do my breathing techniques, if I can work through my writing, if I can work through my grace and my inspirational time and my meditation time, and I even do some visualization stuff now where I'm visualizing the future, which is not easy for me. And exercise to a point where I push myself while I rip my quads off like you felt when you were climbing up that mountain, and then come back and eat and spend some time with the family. That's a perfect day. From that point, if I'm alive or not, like it doesn't matter. Like if I could get to that, usually the only part I miss out is that time with the family in the start of the day, which we try to get in on the back end of the day, which is a little bit nicer for me. And I try to grill, or I like movies, so we spend the day at the end of the day together a little bit more. That's awesome for me. So if I can eat, if I can spend some time with them, if I can have a cocktail, 1 or 2 is pretty good for me. I try not to go too much than that, but, every now and then I'll have fun. Sometimes too much fun. But, that's a great day right there, man. Like, that's what I love. I like to give back to people, to spend time with my family, to push myself in all the ways that make me uncomfortable. That's what I found happiness in. It's what kept me from killing myself 10 years ago, 12 years ago, whatever the hell that was. And it's driven me to find as much value as I can give to other people.
It's a good day. Good day.
Yeah. It's not, my days aren't short.
Yeah, let's start at 4.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Well, honestly, yeah. I mean, I've been up since 3:00, well, technically 4 out of bed this morning, but yeah, I mean, I'm, also too, because you got me going, I'm talking, because I wished so many days away when I was younger, I wasn't grateful for them. I try to delegate more time off now. I try to find more time in my day. So, I won't cut the grass. Like, I won't, like, there's things, if I can spend time, like, to me, it pisses me off to do things that aren't really worth my time. Which one of the reasons why for me to spend time with you doing all this stuff means so much to me, and why I'm so grateful for this. I don't do things now that really aren't worth my time. So if I could pay a kid down the street to do a 10-hour job thing, I'm not gonna fucking do it. And that's where for me I'd be able to delegate off the business side of things. We talked about that. My nonprofit that I had, one of the reasons why I was a nonprofit was because of the fact that I lost my passion for it. You wanted to kill your passion on something, try to make money at it.
Yeah.
You want to do this podcast for fun? God bless you, brother. Go do it. I told you that when we met a week ago or so, right? Don't try to make money at it. Have 6 or 7 other streams coming in of passive income, so where you can do this and be passionate and create what you really want to create and not have to listen to other fucking people and be you. And then you don't have to worry about it. It's that aspect right there that I didn't realize. And you can create that. That's why you see all that bullshit in there of stuff to be entrepreneurs with.
Mm-hmm.
You walk in, well, what the fuck is all this shit? Why did you come to my garage sale? Well, there's a reason for all that stuff. Is to be able to have more passive income coming in. Again, stuff that's not learned from us, things that are learned from people that are more successful or better at it than you are. And for me, I feel like I can learn from anybody. Again, it doesn't matter who it is. If you feel like you can't learn from it, you lose something. And that's where I found my ultimate value.
Man.
Mm-hmm.
All right, we're going
you know what you were getting your foot into when you came in, huh?
I'm going to go on to the next question. This one's a little more fun.
Okay.
If you wake up tomorrow and gain any power ability, what would it be and why?
To read faster. Yeah.
Does that download it faster, basically, or absorb it faster?
No, to literally read faster.
Yeah.
That's it. Literally to read faster. Audible has been a fucking game changer for me.
Mm.
I've read more books in the last 2 years than I have probably 40 some books.
Mm-hmm.
I'm obsessive with it now to the point where I didn't realize how smart I was until I didn't have to.
You absorbed it a different way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, yeah, and forced learning through schooling and saying, hey, you can only learn through this one way. I learned better by creating action, like doing it. Mm-hmm. I was talking to my brother about this a couple nights ago. It's like, we actually do better if you just fucking don't think and go. Like I told you, I'm like that vacuum that just runs into shit and bounces off a wall and comes back to it. I'm better that way. And the problem is I get in my fucking head and I start thinking. And I was hitting my head too much. It's all over the place. And then realize that I had other aspects. Shut up, bird. I'm talking. Steal my fucking time.
The ducks.
Done yet? You goddamn geese. I didn't realize that I could learn or do any of that type of stuff. So for me, the ability to literally just read more, like to faster, like literally faster. Like if I just had more time to get more information in, I love that. I'm also a big nerd. I love superheroes. Mm-hmm. If you would have said, hey, who's your favorite superhero at a young age? I would have said, hey, Wolverine, Hulk, or the Thing, these big, strong fucking guys. And look who I look now, right? But if I would have said that, the one I like the most now is like Doctor Strange.
Why?
Reading. Like knowledge. Like, wisdom. I didn't realize how much if I just be patient enough and realize the value that I ultimately have as a person, as a leader. And the funny thing is that my name, Garrick, mm-hmm. is English for ruler with a spear.
Hmm.
For the longest time, it is English. Look it up. I'm pretty sure it was English.
Or Welsh.
Welsh, maybe.
Welsh.
Look it up. Let's see. Use that interweb and see what happens. But either way, it's something about ruler with a spear or something like that. And it's about a leadership position, and I hated my name for the longest time. Like, fuck you, parents. Like, why'd you give me that name? Garrick. Fuck Garrick. Like, people fuck it up all the time. And it was just so hard to say, and I'm proud of it. Now, I told you it was English?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
English baby name.
You're not wrong, baby. I just might have been correct.
I might be.
Two Old English words meaning spear and ruler.
Okay, spear,
Oh, wow.
spear and roller. Somebody might have had some memory. Okay, so I have a name that has to do with leadership and spear.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the experience,
Mighty warrior.
ooh, a mighty warrior. That sounds sexy.
Mm-hmm.
The experience I said I had a couple weeks ago of not stepping up as a leader has to do with something similar to a spear. And I didn't realize the value that people would have missed out without my leadership. Do you concur, or
Absolutely.
am I like leading
We
you
were on
on?
the same page with that. Yes.
Okay. So I didn't realize the value that people would miss out on me not actually stepping up, because I was so afraid of not being good enough because I failed in the past. So for me, if I could have that wisdom of realizing that I'm good enough, that if you just shut your fucking mind off, Garrick, and stop thinking, and use your heart, use your soul, that's your true strength, people will follow you. And you're good enough. And not only are you not good enough, they're gonna fucking miss out if you don't do it. If I don't tell the story that I'm telling you right now, if I didn't agree with this, if I was used any anxiety that would have popped up in 1,000,002 excuses that came in my head in the time frame that we didn't see each other, if I would have used one of those to back out of this, somebody would have missed out.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know who it is, and I don't need to know. But somebody will benefit from this. And that's my value. It might be my daughter, it might be my son, it might be, she wasn't there.
Okay.
It might be those people. But those experiences that I had in my past allow me to be who I am. And that has value. I just didn't know it.
Shit. What's your most treasured memory?
Wow, that's a tough one, man. I don't know if it's happened yet. Memory is such a hard thing for me. Again, I don't know. Last miles, dreams, and stories, right? We talked about that earlier. I don't know what. Sometimes my perception of reality gets blurred. So my memory is hard to remember. It's a good one. Isn't it amazing? It's so easy to pull up all the negative, and yet to ask for one memory that's so treasured in this perception of reality that we live in. My fucked up mind that I'm sitting here and said I worked so much at and bust my ass at. I can't give you one. Meeting this woman. That's the only time I've ever had love at first sight. I'll tell you that. That's true.
What's the story behind that one?
Well,
That's another
you don't have enough time on this reel.
podcast. That's another podcast.
I was a personal trainer. She still in, apparently. And she came in to get some training, and she got a lot more value than that. Yeah, buddy. Hey, people, we got a good price going for that. If you guys want, click on the link.
Yeah.
No seriousness. She really did come in with a friend. I think she was going through a divorce at the time, so of course she had a lot of motivation to lose body fat. But I wasn't even the trainer at the time. I think I was just selling training, managing of the training. Kind of, they do both in this type of world. But she came in, signed up, fell in love with me because I was so charming and beautiful. I had hair at the time. Looked like a young Superman, Clark Kent type guy. But no, she did buy training with her friend, and she took about 20 or 15 steps away after we got done with the sale, and nothing was left to be said or whatever. And she happened to turn around, and she looked at me, and of course I had 2 or 3 girlfriends at the time, so I was concerned if they were looking. No, I'm just joking. That's the insecurity. But no, she looked back, and she stared at me, and she caught my eye, and I got lost. And I got lost in her eyes, and there was a connection, and I didn't look away, and she didn't look away. And
That's the first time I've ever done that.
you got to come closer to the mic. They can't hear you. She doesn't want to. She said there was nobody that's ever been that gorgeous and that good looking that's ever looked at her like that ever in her life. And then her panties got wet.
Stop!
Oh my god!
No, just making it better now.
No, this episode we said worse. We said worse on the other episodes.
Yeah. So she might have to go to the bathroom. But no, she looked at me and I looked at her, and I've never experienced that ever with all the 3,000 women that I've talked to. Jody.
You're not telling me anything I don't.
I know. No, yeah, as long as they don't fuck with his equipment.
I think that'd be fine.
Yeah, we got lost, and I'm pretty sure that she would tell you the same things if she could get to the microphone right now. But it was an interesting fuckers. It was a good time. You know, because I've never felt that before. And you only hear that type of shit in like Disney movies and stuff. But
the more I go through life, the more I'm starting to believe it.
It's not something I saw as a kid growing up, though. You know, so it's not something that I experienced as like for me. I grew up in a single family home, bouncing back and forth between my mother and father, mostly with my father, but there wasn't a whole lot of that like romance. And for me too, I've always been a helpless romantic. I think like I like that. What is it? Hopeless. I'm not helpless.
No.
Okay, I'm hopeless, people. But no, I've always enjoyed that type of shit. Like I've always liked it. It's but I've never experienced it until I've had her, and I've never had anybody that relationship wise have been as accepting as she has. I've put her through a lot, and you can't be with somebody like me and not go through a lot. I mean, I wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning. Like, not a whole lot of women can deal with that, you know. And she's been very accepting of me, and so I'm grateful for her.
Okay, we're going to the last question. Mm-hmm. This is the question I ask everyone. It's a very personal question, and it's also a very telling question too. It's a 2-part question. What's the worst thing you've ever done in your life? And what's the best thing you've ever done in your life?
The worst thing I've ever done in my life. You know, that's kind of a hard one for me. Mm-hmm. The reason being is I don't know, maybe everybody's tough on themselves, but I haven't really had a whole lot of normal, quote unquote, sexual relationships. Matter of fact, I'm just gonna say it. Not a lot of people know this. I was molested as a kid, and that's what I'm saying. For Jody to understand me and be who I am, she gets it, and because of that, I haven't felt sexually that like I was good enough. Not like physically, like, because that's not an issue. It's more just in the nature of it. So for me, like, I've been with women in the past that have still been in relationships or been married.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, that is something that I'm not proud of. I guess I don't like to take anything away from people. And you don't add anything to anybody doing that type of shit, you know? So for me, being with people that are still in relationships and stuff like that, and no matter how your mind goes around and fucks with you and it justifies it,
Mm-hmm.
doing the right thing is doing the right thing, and not doing the right thing, not doing the right thing. And you know, deep down inside, you know, I guess if you go back to yourself as a little kid and you know that's the right or wrong thing, for me, that's where it is. So if I had to answer that particular question, it would be being with the women that I've been with in the past that have still been in relationships or been married, that it hasn't been a positive thing. And, you know, you realize you do shit that are negative and you get negative results for it. You know, you don't realize that, well, why did this happen? Because you did this shit, dumbass. You know, I guess that's part of wisdom. As a kid, you think, oh, you could do this or you could justify it. Your mind starts to fuck with you in different ways. You know, oh, you could justify it with this. So you were molested or you were raped, or you know, you can do those things now because this happened to you in the past. And it's not true. And for me, I told myself those things, and a negative is still a negative.
Who molested you?
Well, it was two men. Again, this is something I've been working on, trying to express more of. Actually, what was it, earlier this year? We talked about it with my brother. I told her for the first time at the beginning of the year with my brother.
He didn't know you.
Yeah. Fuck. Okay. Well, it was two men. It was two men that. Fuck! If she hears this, she's gonna beat herself up.
You don't need to say.
Yeah, you don't have to.
Okay.
You don't have to name names.
No, I don't know names, to be honest with you.
It's not a family member.
It's not family members. A family member. A family member used to bring me to meet with other people, and that were friends of hers when we were kids. There was like a whole big group of kids, and like they were friends of the family, and they had somewhere off the river, and it was two fucking rednecks. It wasn't just me. There were some other kids there, and they molested us. I mean, I don't know how graphic you want me to get into it, but they made us have oral sex with them. it was in a pool house outside of a pool. Doesn't make sense, but
I get it.
There's 2 other kids and there's 2 fucking rednecks. Not a fan of rednecks, obviously. Yeah. And for me, they used me kind of... I was always a bigger kid. So they kind of used me as a... I don't know, the stud, or whatever you want to call it. I was the one that was doing things to the other kids and them, mostly. All this shit's not easy for me to express.
No, it's not supposed to be easy to express.
But you know, that's one of the reasons why, for me, that, like I said, I had all these masks and all this pain and suffering that I felt like I had, and it was all bullshit. You know, like I said, I'm actually grateful. You think about that for a second. I'm actually grateful for all the stories that I told you today. Everything I've taken way too much time to tell you and express. I'm literally grateful for those things. And I had to get to a point where, because I've swayed so far on both sides, that you're not good enough. It's you're the victim. It's your fault. Is, you know, both ways. Like, you know, like it's all this fucked up shit. Relationships, kids, I didn't want any of it. I didn't, like, when I first met her, what did I say? I don't want a relationship, I'm not good at it. That's the only thing I could tell her. You know, I couldn't tell her that I don't think I could only be with one woman. I couldn't tell her that I don't want fucking kids to grow up, and not saying that they'd be molested, but don't want kids to grow up in a negative experience. I mean, my family, like I said, we didn't have a fairy tale family. One of the reasons why I like movies is because it gave me a viewpoint of something you didn't have. It gave me imagination when you didn't have imagination anymore. When the world stripped me away from what I couldn't imagine, that's why it's hard for me now. Like I said earlier, I try to practice, like early in the morning, I try to practice visualizing the future. And you said, what experiences do you grateful for or whatever. I'm not sure they happened yet. But I don't know if I could have got to that point without those experiences, without having this shit that people would say, oh, that's fucked up, or that's, oh, I'm sorry. Like, no, don't be sorry for my pain. It was given to me for a reason. And I wasted so much of my own life and time. And why I'm excited, I'm hungry to wake up in the morning. I'm excited to get up now. I am so fucking grateful that anybody wants to meet me at 5 o'clock in the morning. Anybody.
5 o'clock in the morning.
It's fucking 5 o'clock in the morning, people.
5 o'clock.
I get it, okay? Like, they don't think I get it, but, like, I get it, people. And anybody that's wanted any coaching or value, the fact that she's still here with me and all the shit that I put her through, again, non-profit business, and we're nowhere near, there's nothing to say that tomorrow is going to be any better, but you know what? We're still here, and I realized that I was built for winter. So are you. So is she. And the people that you keep around us that they're friends, and all the ones that are super successful right now when the times are easy, they don't get it. And the fact that all this shit has happened to me, when this real shit hits the fan, that's when we'll be grateful. Because we'll have to lead people. We'll have to be there for people that have had instant gratification and have never really had to experience real cold. What is it like to be there at 3:09 in the morning at a Greenbelt gym when there's no AC and you have a North Face jacket that's so fucking big that you borrowed from the guy who's allowing you to sleep in his gym, but you're grateful to be able to have this jacket, and that's the only thing that's keeping you warm, and there's all kinds of noises going on in this, and you're scared. You don't know when you're going to eat again. And you're sitting there in the fucking kids club of a gym, and it's the only thing you have, and you're grateful for not be outside, or even grateful to have that fucking jacket. And you can realize that you're still here. We're a lot stronger than we think we are. And that pain, my scars that I told you that I have from the stories that I have in my past, they're just stories. That's all they are, people. They're just stories. You know, they were given to me, and if anybody can benefit from them, I hope they do. But their scars were meant for them to come out and express them to people. And if people can learn from them, that's the point of this to me. That's why they were handed to me. And I also realized that I'm a lot fucking stronger than I realize. As much as if I like it or not, I'm still here. That's why I didn't kill myself. That's why you're still here. Because you're a lot fucking stronger than you think you are. They'll jump around.
Sorry guys, that's the dogs running around.
They're huskies. They gotta run. But we're stronger than we think we are. And when the shit really hits the fan, people that are doing this stuff, that, like I told you, you keep doing what you're doing, they'll see the true soul, your heart, your mind, and you'll create what you were really meant to create. And then your passion won't have to provide money. It will flow with it, buddy. I truly believe that. I truly believe that people and the real nature of human society, transcending or whatever you're talking about, will come in. You know, but it's going to take a lot of carnage. It's going to take a lot of pain. And the people that haven't experienced it, that haven't been where you have, they don't get it. They're not grateful for the quads about to rip off, climbing up that mountain like you're talking about. They're not grateful for those guys molesting them because they don't give them fucking power. You have more power than you ever even realized, and so do I. So does she. And when you keep those type of people around you, nothing can stop you.
Man, that I wasn't expecting to end with that. That was you're a good guy, man. You
I'm a guy.
No, you're a good man, and I wish shit like that didn't happen to people. I really wish shit like that did not happen to.
Well,
I wish there was a place or a world that people don't have to go through shit like that.
Brother, they didn't. They wouldn't grow. If I didn't, I wouldn't grow. I wouldn't be the person you think I am right now without any of it. I'm truly grateful for it, and that's why when you say you wish people wouldn't know that, I don't. I hope they don't have to take the path that I took. I hope they can learn better than I learned. But I had to learn it the way I had to learn it, buddy. You can't take other people's pain. As strong as you are, you have your own pain to deal with, and so do I. It's not your fucking right. Don't take my pain. It was given to me to learn something from. If I don't, I can't relate. And until you get to that point, until you truly understand that you're missing out over the point of their podcast, you're missing out on the true point of transcending to the person you're really meant to be. You're still in that growing process. You're young still. Be patient. As you practice your patience, you'll see the people were given what they were given for a particular reason. And they need to learn from it. And if you take any of that away from them, they won't learn. Be there to love them, support them, absolutely. But don't take that pain from them. I am grateful. Listen to that. I am fucking grateful for those goddamn rednecks. I am grateful to have slept on that Greenbelt gym. I slept on a fucking bench. I am grateful that I put that gun to my chest. I am grateful to have the 12 concussions or whatever. I am grateful to have a father that put me in that position to succeed in life. I am grateful for all of it.
I want to end with that. This was a very surprising and intense in a good way, eye-opening episode. I want to thank you very much. You revealed a lot. You've been through a lot of shit, and and honestly, I really don't have the words for it. But the only thing I can say is thank you for opening up. That's the only words I have for it. And I'm sorry that shit happened to you.
Don't be. Listen, brother. Don't be sorry. If you take nothing else from the whole time we talked here, the story I just told you, if you're grateful for my time, learn from it. Do not be sorry. Do not take my pain. It's not your right. It is given to me for a reason. I was handed that shit. And if you try to accept it, now you can learn from it all day long. Hey, go do it. But if you try to be sorry for it, you didn't fucking do it. Don't be sorry for it. I'm not. You're not those assholes. You weren't me. I've been in my way more than anybody else. Because of that. You're a good person. You have a big heart. Be there to love people. Support them. Have that empathy. But empathy is simple. It's not easy. And being easy is not accepting the pain of other people. Otherwise, they don't learn. And when you have kids and when you go through that and you write and you check yourself every day, that's why I asked you if you were writing earlier. You go back and you look at the person you were a year ago or 2 years ago or 5 years ago, you're a better man. And when you learn that you're growing every day, you have nothing to be afraid of. There's no fear anymore. I think that's the point of doing this. Like I said, I'm going to be 34 in how many days? 7-ish? The 26th, whenever that date is. I am honestly grateful for my life. And this might be the first time in my 34 years that I can honestly say that. But I am. And I hope people see that. I hope they don't take that pain because it's an excuse. If you accept my pain, you're not learning. You're taking it and running in the opposite direction. Learn from what I told you. Take my story, adapt, overcome, and grow as a human. And give back to other people. That's the way I set goals. What experiences do you want in this life? What do you need to learn to have those experiences? Then how the fuck can you give it back to other people? That's it. Those 3 things.
All right. Thank you again.
You're welcome.
Check out the website, ataboolife.com. Don't forget to subscribe. The website has interesting articles, short stories, poems, and prose, because I am that sappy.
Love it.
And if you guys know anyone in the Jacksonville area or a day's drive from Jacksonville, or have any suggestions for the show, contact me at ataboolife@gmail.com. You guys have a great week, and thank you for listening.